Hi, 8th grade. So follow along in your binder with lesson 21. I'm going to go through the exploratory challenge number 1 with you. Pause this video, go back as many times as you need, because when you come into class today, we're going to start right at example 2. So you are expected to have everything finished for example 1. Okay, so we need to sketch the graph of the equation 9x plus 3y equals 18 using intercepts. Then we're going to answer the following questions. So remember, when we use intercepts, we set x equal to 0, and we set y equal to 0, and we solve for the other coordinate that we need. So I'm first going to plug in x is 0, so it's going to be 9x plus 3y equals 18. And now when I rewrite it, instead of writing x, I'm going to plug in 0. So I'm going to have 9 times 0 plus 3y equals 18. 9 times 0 just gives me 0. So I'm going to bring down everything else. Plus 3y equals 18. Having this plus 0 here is kind of distracting, so I'm just going to rewrite it again. Is 3y equals 18. I need to solve for y, so the opposite of multiplying 3 times y is dividing 3 times y. I'm going to divide each side by 3, and I get y is equal to 6. So what that means is when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 6. Notice how 0 is in place for my x coordinate, 6 is in place for my y coordinate. So I'm going to go really quick on my graph, and I'm going to go ahead on your graph and graph 0, 6. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in y equals 0. So I have 9x plus 3y equals 18. I'm just rewriting the equation. And now instead of writing y, I'm going to plug in 0. So I still have 9x, and it's being added to 3. 3 and y are attached with multiplication. Notice how I put my multiplication symbol there. It's still equal to 18. So I'm just going to simplify. 3 times 0 gives me 0. I'm going to bring down everything else. Notice how I brought down my 9x, I brought down my 18. So now instead of writing this plus 0, I'm just going to rewrite it as 9x equals 18. I'm going to divide each side by 9, and I get x is equal to 2. So now I know I have another point, 2, 0. My x value was 2, and my y value was 0. So make sure that you plot 2, 0 on your graph. So before you start answering part A, B, and C, make sure on your graph, few things that you need to make sure as a mathematician, make sure you have arrows at the end of your line, and make sure you also have your equation to label your line. So now we're going to actually sketch the equation y equals negative 3x plus 6. In order for us to sketch that point, I need to figure out my m and my b. Remember, your line, it's y equals mx plus b. M, again, is my slope. The number in place of my slope is negative 3. Remember that your slope is rise over run. So I could just put negative 3. It's a whole number, so I'm going to put it over 1. So now my b is 6. So make sure when you graph, you always start at your b or your y-intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and start graphing. I'm going to put a point at 6. Notice I'm doing this equation in blue, and I need to apply my slope. I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and I always go to the right. So I'm going to put a point there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go down. I'm going to use my slope, down 1, 2, 3, to the right 1. So you probably noticed by now my y-intercept and the 2 points that I graphed are all on that exact line. So essentially these 2 lines are exactly the same. So make sure you go ahead and label the line with your second equation, y equals 3x plus 6. So notice now how my line has both equations on it labeled. So this was kind of a tricky part earlier from last week. We want to write our equation y equals negative 3x plus 6 in standard form. Remember standard form, it looks like ax plus by equals c. So really the 2 main things that you need to know is that you want your x and your y on the same side of the equal sign. So if you take a look at my equation, if I draw my line, my y is on the left side, so I'm going to bring my negative 3x over to the left side. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And notice how in my standard equation of a line, my x value goes first. So when I rewrite the left side, I'm going to put 3x first. When I write my y is a positive y, so it's plus y, and it's still equal to 6. So now I have my x value, I have my y value, and my constant. So for question D, we want to identify the constants in this equation. So I'm just going to write the standard form of my standard equation underneath. This way it's a little easier to see what's in place of each thing. So the number in place of A is 3. The number in place of B, if you look, there's no number directly in front of y. There's no coefficient. So if there was a coefficient there, it would be 1. So my B is going to be equal to 1, and my C is equal to 6. For part E, I'm going to label the constants in the second linear equation, 9x plus 3y equals 18. So again, just to make it easier for myself, I'm going to write ax plus by equals c. And notice how we're doing this a second time. Each one has a prime over it. So I'm going to make sure in my equation I put the primes with it. So the number in place of a prime is 9. The number in place of b prime is 3. And the number in place of c prime is 18. So now the question is asking us, what do we notice about a prime over a, b prime over b, and c prime over c? So if I do a prime over a, take a look. All we're doing is looking at what we labeled. A prime we said was 9, and a we said was 3. So I'm going to have 9 over 3, and 9 over 3, it simplifies to 3. Now I'm going to do b prime over b. B prime was 3, and b was 1, so 3 over 1 simplifies to give us 3. And our last one, c prime over c. If you look at what you labeled, c prime was 18, and c was 6. 18 over 6 is 3. So if you notice, for each one, they all simplify to be the same number. So make sure you go back and use this video as often as you need. We will start on example 2 once you get into class. Be sure to answer your Google form question that has been emailed to you.